Welcome to Fitness Friday. Happy Juneteenth. Jess is going to give me a quick intro, and then we'll talk about heart rate training.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Ryan will be explaining some heart rate training today. Ryan Regensburg is the Assistant General Manager at our Qualcomm San Diego site for Optum. He is excited to eventually get back on campus to teach in-person class at some point here in 2021. In the meantime, Ryan posts his Wednesday live Zoom HIIT classes on our Q Fitness YouTube channel. He does virtual personal training and offers fitness coaching incentives as a service to all Qualcomm employees and spouses. Ryan is a certified strength and conditioning specialist with the National Strength and Conditioning Association. He is also New Leaf metabolic testing certified. Here he is, Coach Ryan, presenting on heart rate training. What is New Leaf metabolic testing?
What is New Leaf metabolic testing? It's similar to VO2 max testing, but you wear a mask. And we did it at Equinox up in Santa Monica, actually, and we offered it to members as a service. It's a pretty high-end service. I think it was a few $100s to get tested, but you were hooked up to a mask. You would start out slow, walking on a treadmill, and you just progressively go faster at an increased incline, and then you'd see what substrates were used or what kind of energy systems that you're using while walking or running on the treadmill.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Yeah. So everyone was different. You know, some people burn more sugar, some people burn more fat. But that's basically the premise of the New Leaf metabolic testing. It was a pretty cool certification to get. Yeah. Typically, more trained people will burn more fat, but depending on the exercise and activity that they would do and what they had eaten right before working out, it would look different. All right.
Very cool.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks for the intro. So for today, we've got a few topics. It'll be a quick half an hour presentation. We'll cover what heart rate training is, how you find your heart rate, are heart rate zones effective, and other ways to measure your intensity, such as heart rate tracking devices, the talk test, or rate of perceived exertion. All right, go ahead and chat your best answer. Donna and Jess, if you'd like to add to the chat, you can as well. What is heart rate? I'll give you a minute or two to get that in. And Jess, as the answers come in, or Donna, if you see any answers come through in the chat, go ahead and just try to define heart rate in the chat. Give your best answer. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to go ahead and explain some of our services. We do offer Zoom personal training or via Teams. We offer our classes via Zoom, live streaming, as well as on YouTube. And let me set off the reminders here. We also offer the fitness coaching incentive stuff through benefits for yourself, all Qualcomm employees, and your spouse. And let's see, what else do we offer? Personal training, said that, classes, yep. And then Donna does a great job with our weekly emails, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Hopefully you're signed up for our email list. So go ahead and sign up for that if you're not signed up. All right, Jeff, any number of beats per minute? Perfect, nice job, Arun. All right, Arun Rapari, welcome. Glad you made it. That was a simple answer. Yep, how many beats? Your heart beats in 1 minute. That's your heart rate. How do you find it? We'll go ahead and find our radial artery. Your radial artery is right below your radius. You have two bones throughout your forearm. Your radius is on your thumb side, and then your ulna is on the pinky side. Go ahead and find the radial styloid, which is that bump in your wrist on the thumb side, right below your wrist, and then more towards the middle of your forearm, you'll feel a tendon. That's your flexor carpi radialis tendon. Between there and there, you want to apply some light pressure with your middle finger and your pointer, these two fingers, not your thumb. Light pressure, go ahead and gently feel there. We're going to hold it for 20 seconds. We'll check your heart rate starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Count your beats. time. I've got 24. I'm going to multiply that times 3. That gives me 72 beats per minute. I'm going to check it on my smart device to double check and see if it's close to accurate. So for my heart rate on my watch, I've got 66 beats per minute. So pretty close, I would say. 66, 72, pretty close. Anyone else? Was everyone able to find their heart rate? Just send a chat if you had trouble finding it. How'd you do, Jess? What'd you get for your heart rate?
Did you say multiply it by 3?
Yes, because we did a 20-second. Yep.
Oh, you did 20 seconds. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I think like 52 then. Low 50s.
52. Okay, so
It's usually my
Jess,
heart rate.
this is pretty low. This will be closer to your resting heart rate. You know, being seated at the desk, you'll get a number that's closer to your resting heart rate. For me, I'm a little bit excited. My resting heart rate is a little bit lower at like 55 or so, closer to where Jess's is now. But typically to get a more accurate resting heart rate, you'll wake up right after a nap without an alarm, because sometimes the alarm startles you, and then you can get a more accurate resting heart rate. A lot of our smart devices measure it for you. Another way to find your resting heart rate is, there's the anatomy of your radial artery. Arteries send blood out to our system. Veins return back to the heart. The carotid artery is another great way to get your heart rate. So if you turn your head to the left, you'll see that muscle that kind of protrudes out from underneath your ear there. That's the sternocleidomastoid that runs right down to your sternum and right up to your mastoid process on your skull. Okay, so you're going to run your hands down that muscle, and then right around your Adam's apple, you're going to apply some gentle pressure again so that you could feel that carotid artery. Go ahead and find your carotid artery. This time we're just going to take a 6-second check, okay? Ready, set, and start. Time. All right, so I got 8 that time, so I'm just going to add a 0 to that 8 number. That gives me 80 beats per minute. I'm going to check my heart rate on my watch again just to kind of validate. And I got 69, so it's pretty close. It's within the ballpark. That's a great way to quickly get your heart rate measurement. I like to do this carotid artery check while I'm exercising because it's normally really intense and the blood is really pumping pretty intensely from my heart up to my head. Coach Donna's got a good tip on why you should not do both hands. For me, I learned that you're not supposed to check your carotid artery across your esophagus. But Donna, do you have some feedback on why you shouldn't do both hands or with too much pressure?
Yeah, so Ryan and I were talking yesterday and going over checking a couple of tips. So for those of you that don't know, I'm Coach Donna, and I have a heart condition. So monitoring my heart rate has been in my world for the last several years. Generally, you want to check the same arm, same side, because you have a carotid on both sides. So you can check on both sides. You don't want to cross because you don't want to add too much pressure. You don't want to be dragging across that. You also never want to check it both at the same time. That's a major artery. That's a really good way to induce passing out. So never check your carotid on both sides at the same time. It also doesn't feel a lot of pressure, whether at the radial or at the carotid. It's gentle pressure because you're not trying to stop the blood flow. You're just trying to feel the blood flow.
Great, exactly. Yeah, you'd be surprised by just kind of lessening your grip on that pulse check. It could just take really light pressure most of the time. And the reason we say the pointer and the middle finger is because they're more sensitive than the thumb. The thumb pad is thicker. You know, I've got a lot of tissue on that thumb pad. It's not as sensitive as the pointer and the middle finger. Great, thanks, Donna. Here's more of an anatomical look of your carotid artery. Lies in front of the vertebrae, to the sides of your esophagus, and behind that, well, it starts out above and then drops down below and inside of the sternocleidomastoid muscle, that SCM muscle, as they call it in the National Academy of Sports Medicine. Here we go. On to the question, are heart rate zones effective? Go ahead and chat your best answer. While you're doing that, I'll explain the guy up on the screen there, Haile Gebrselassie. He's from Ethiopia, and is one of the greatest runners for long distance. I think he has a few, at least a couple of gold medals in the Olympics. And I think he was on that Nike training to beat the 2-hour marathon pace. He was one of the guys that was able to actually, I think, break it or come within a minute or two. Pretty amazing, the speed that they could do for the length of time. Any responses there for are your heart rate zones effective? Nothing yet? So my personal answer is yes. I think heart rate zones are effective. And NSCA, the National Strength and Conditioning Association, definitely agrees that heart rate zones are effective. From my personal experience, just using the heart rate zone to kind of get an idea of where I am for intensity gives me a good measurement for where I am, and it's pretty parallel to, say, walking is going to be a lower light intensity, jogging will be moderate, and then, sprinting is going to be vigorous or really intense. And you can kind of see that in the chart here, and it's parallel to your age. We're going to get into how to measure or how to find your heart rate zone in a little bit. But typically, the older you get, the higher or the lower your maximum heart rate is going to be. So when you're 20 years old, your maximum estimated heart rate is going to be around 200 beats per minute. And then when you're 100 years old, your maximum estimated heart rate is going to be around 120 beats per minute. Quite a difference there, right? Max heart rate 120 or max heart rate 200. And it sounds funny, but I was watching the news the other day, and there's a 99-year-old that's competing in swimming. 99 years old, masters, and she's still swimming here in San Diego. Pretty amazing. So her heart is definitely beating well, and because she's so conditioned, I bet that her maximum heart rate or her estimated maximum heart rate is much higher than 120. She's probably able to get her heart rate up to 130 or 140, even though she's quite a bit older. So there is a little bit of give in these numbers. I'd like to know for sure where she's at. But I know that Lance Armstrong's maximum heart rate is closer to 200 beats per minute, and he's, 50 years old. So for him, he was able to maintain higher heart rates and higher intensities, and actually increase his maximum heart rate through all the training and intense training that he does on his cycle. So I'll go ahead and read this blurb here from the NSCA. However, the exercise intensity established for using this method is indeed specific to the person, because each person requires a unique amount of work to reach any given target heart rate. Therefore, a sedentary 20-year-old and an athletic 20-year-old may have the same predicted values, but the exercise intensity needed to reach these values would be considerably different. And they show on the left side there, 120 to 140 as the lower and the upper limit for, a particular 20-year-old. So based on your ability to efficiently do an exercise, and Donna and I talked about this yesterday, where the exercise is specific to your heart rate. So some people might get really good at walking or running or cycling, but then they go to do like a HIIT class, and then their heart rate is way higher or it's way lower, even though they're feeling more exerted. So that's where heart rate training and rate of perceived exertion and the talk test all kind of come together, because the combination of both heart rate and respiratory rate, or how you're breathing, how you're metabolizing oxygen through breath. Cool. Any questions? Donna, do you have anything to add to this little bit here? Or Jess? I know Jess is in quite a bit of Breathe Degrees coaching. There's a studio up in Carlsbad, is that right, Jess? And they're focused on just breathing and breathing techniques. Pretty cool stuff. One of our students helped to start the center up there. All right, moving on.
Any questions, anyone? You can chat them in or raise your hand. We can.
All right, so heart rate zones. Let's see. So I broke it down into 3 different sections here. You kind of see it, section 1, section 2, section 3, by intensity. We'll start here in section 1, which is very fast, 85 to 100%. It's like heart rate max training. You're not going to have energy for too long here. And your energy systems used will be adenosine triphosphate, creatine, and phosphagen. You're going to be breathing really heavy. It's going to be like a short sprint. 70 to 85% is fast. Your energy system will be more of your sugars, like your glycogen and glycolytic systems, lactate. Threshold will be right around here, maybe 70, 75%. So you may find that you burn out after 5 or 10 minutes of exercise, or even 3 minutes, depending on how intensely you're going on that spectrum of 70 to 85%. And then 50 to 70% of your heart rate max is considered slow. This would be like walking, slow jog, moderate cycle, okay? Or maybe even like a dance class could be oxidative. They say Pilates should be even oxidative or like aerobic. So, cool. I think we covered quite a bit here. We only have a few minutes left, so I'm going to keep plugging along. We've got a chart here on energy systems. On the left is that 85 to 100% zone, your ATP, adenosine triphosphate, creatine, phosphagen system, very fast on the left, 0 to 20 seconds, and then 20 seconds to 180 seconds is your glucose system, which is fast, so like just 3 minutes or under. And then more than 3 minutes is the slow or endurance sports. On the bottom, you could see the types of sports or activities that are that would kind of parallel these energy systems. And you could kind of toggle between, you know, the ATP system or a fast sprint, and then the anaerobic glycolytic system, and then down to the oxidative system, where you're kind of going between each of these zones, maybe say while you're doing a run or while you're doing a cycle, or even a sprint where you're going from, you know, high gear to moderate gear to low gear, and then you're going back through them. This way you give yourself a little bit of time to recover. That's not to say that, you know, building a good aerobic base in that oxidative system is not important. That's still important for, you know, a couple days a week, I'd say is probably good. Go for your long walks or your long bike rides, and just move your body, enjoy yourself. Similar chart
We have a
here.
question.
Yeah.
Which zone is considered fat burn versus cardio? Also, what kind of calories are we burning in cardio zone?
Great question. So there's always a percentage of each. Now, this has been a kind of like a hot topic on social media. Who asked this question, Jeff?
Arun.
Arun, great question, Arun. So typically, you know, fat burning zone, you're not burning all fat, but there could be a percentage of more fat during each zone. Or there could be, you know, a percentage of sugar, but you're still burning some fat, because all of us have a pretty good amount of body fat that we could access and burn. And if it's not subcutaneous, you know, below the skin, it might be intra-abdominal. So we're able to access those fat stores from intense exercise as well as moderate and low intensity exercise. So typically you're burning more percentage of fat in the oxidative system, the slower to moderate, but you may burn more total fat in the adenosine triphosphate glycolytic system, because your body is working harder and burning more total calories, but you may be able to burn more fat, total fat as well. So great question. Yeah, hopefully that helps. But it's kind of a sliding scale, and everyone's different. Typically, the more trained you are, and the better aerobic base that you have, the better chance that you have of burning fat while doing the more intensive stuff. So training is important for helping you to burn fat, for sure. All right, so this is how we figure out our heart rate zone. 220 minus your age. For me, my age is 40. I'm going to subtract that, and it'll give me my estimated heart rate maximum, which is 180 beats per minute. That number will go all the way on the right side of that zone 3. That's my 100%, or my maximum, because I multiplied 180 times 1. So you'll take your percentage and multiply that times your estimated maximum heart rate. So let's say times 0.5 or half. So for me, that would be 90. So that'll be my 50 percentile. 90 beats per minute is my low. 180 is my high. So I want to be in that range while exercising for the most part. Then to get my second number, I do 0.7 times my estimated heart rate max of 180. It gives me 126. So if you want to go ahead and multiply and figure out your zones right now, please do. If you have any trouble, type us a message in the chat. So my first zone there, 50 to 70%, is between 90 and 126 beats per minute. And that's my oxidative or slow fat burning zone. And the next one is 126 to, for me, 0.85 times 180 beats per minute is 153. So my zone 2 there is 126 to 153 beats per minute. And this is my glycolytic zone. So where I'm burning more sugars, lactic acid and lactate, I'm trying to go through that Krebs cycle to reproduce more adenosine triphosphate to be able to energize myself to keep going and kind of to like push through, you know, maybe I'm doing a half mile and I'm trying to just push through in that 70 to 85% zone. And then the last zone will be 153 to 180 beats per minute for me. So hopefully this helps you out. And this is just the basic like beginner heart rate zone formula. But really it's pretty close to being accurate for me personally. For other people, it might be off by 10 or 20 beats per minute, but it's just a way for you to figure out and gauge your intensity. Another way to find your intensity is through devices. I like using the Garmin. I think we got a Qualcomm chip in here, so it tracks my GPS, and then it immediately transfers to Strava, my Strava account, so I can see my loop or wherever I'm running or cycling or swimming or paddleboarding. Even it does all these different multiple sport tracking things, which is pretty cool. I tracked my paddleboarding out in the bay, and it's just like out and back, half a mile, 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Not very far. No, it was a half a mile out and then a half a mile back. I think it took a half an hour for a mile on a paddleboard, but coming back, it was really windy. There's my excuse. It also estimates your VO2 max, and it vibrates when you set it for interval training. So you could set it for 3 minutes fast, 3 minutes recovery, and it'll vibrate and beep. It's really pretty cool. It also gives you your heart rate zone right on the screen. This is just one tool. It kind of shows me my heart rate for the last 4 hours. My high over the past 4 hours was 115 beats per minute, probably when I was taking the dog out for a walk or demonstrating some kettlebell swings out in my garage. And then here's a couple of, so that was your devices. This is one way to find your heart rate, right? On top of, you know, just checking your radial or carotid artery. And then there's also the rate of perceived exertion, your devices. So there's different types of scale, but basically you could create your own scale here, 1 to 10, 1 being the easiest, 10 being the most intensive type of exercise. There's also the 6 through 20 chart. These are all just different ways for you to figure out where you are and how intensely you're working while exercising. For me this week on Tuesday, I guess working out with Jess was probably the most intense workout that I had. There was about 5 or 6 minutes of intense exercise. It would take me a minute or two to catch my breath, and then I'd repeat that for, you know, 2 or 3 rounds. So for that workout, I'd say that it was probably in the 7-8 range. So I was working really hard, and that's good for you, as well as, you know, the dog walks that I do, which are like a half an hour. I'd say that's really very weak to light to moderate, because sometimes she's a puppy, she's running pretty fast, and I'm trying to keep up with her. So there you go. So there's your rate of perceived exertion, another way to figure out your intensity. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and chat them in, or let me know if you have any questions there, Jeff. The talk test is also another way. This is the CDC's guidelines. If you could talk, but you cannot sing, you're in the moderate intensity zone. Whereas if you're intensely exercising or vigorously exercising, you won't be able to say more than a few words. So there's always the talk test, because that's showing how well that you're respirating and pulling air in. Another point that Donna and I talked about was, are you breathing through your nose or are you breathing through your mouth? If you're breathing through your mouth, you'll get some more air in. Typically with more intensive exercise, you'll have to breathe through your mouth. Wrapping up, this is it, last minute. Thanks for coming today, guys. This is our group fitness Zoom schedule. Hopefully we get your heart rate up in some of our classes, including my HIIT class on Wednesday at 11:30. Jess teaches her sports conditioning class Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8 a.m. and 7 a.m. and her Tabata class at 7 a.m. Patrick teaches Monday and Friday, although this week, I think Friday there's no class. Is that right, Donna? Next week.
Next week, this will go out on Monday, but next week there's no hit on Wednesday or Friday.
Okay, cool. Yep, but we'll make sure to download our most current HIT classes, so please check out our YouTube page. And here's the resources from today.
We have another question.
Great.
I'm gonna butcher his name. I'm sorry, Shanker.
Okay.
He says, I'm training for a half marathon. Harry. Okay, awesome. Thank you. I'm training for a half marathon and now able to run 5 miles every week at 85% heart rate and planning to increase my distance going forward. Is that good, decent, bad? What training do I need to improve my heart rate for long distance running?
Great question, Hari. Glad you made it. Good to see you. I would go by perceived exertion here. If you're looking for distance, you want to be in that 5, 6, 7 range. If you're getting, out of a 1 to 10 scale, if you're up in that 8, 9, 10, you may have to toggle it back a little bit and then push a little bit harder. But if you're going for, was it a half marathon, Jeff, or a full marathon?
Yeah, half marathon.
Okay. This is great. Yeah, nice job. Good job getting out there. I'm glad that you're checking your heart rate. I would do some oxidative training too, to build that aerobic base. You want to be around 70 to 75% of your heart rate max. So toggle it back a little bit, do your long run at a little bit of a lower intensity, but keep those shorter runs at that, 80, 85%. That's great. Nice job, Hari. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions? All right. Well, enjoy your Juneteenth. Thanks a lot for coming, guys. I'm so glad you made it. And we'll update our YouTube page with this presentation. Thanks for coming today, Jeff, Donna.
Yep.
Great job, Ryan.
We're gonna take a little bit of a break from these sessions in July, so you'll see that we will miss one of them. So we'll have a 3-week break to deal with the holiday and vacationing and all of that. So we will resume with all of you, with Coach Z presenting on, was that the 16th? Is that what your slide said? Is that
Yes.
when we're coming back?
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll see you
July
mid-June.
16th. Yeah.
Or July 16th.
Yeah, enjoy your July
yeah.
4th if we don't see you, but so glad you made it. Nice job getting here.
Yes. Continue to let us know.